Hello? What's going on?
How long do you think you have left on download all of them?
Probably not that long. I got a really good internet.
Okay. How do I actually upload files into TeamSpeak?
Just right click on the channel name that we're in,
Yeah.
go to File Browser. There should be an upload button. Hold on. I was taken off of this Phantom, but some guy decided to
File
test
browser.
his machine gun on takeoff and almost shot me down. So I had to circle around.
Reloading. Yes!
File transfer failed. Can't do that. Illegal. Has to be a zip. What the hell? How can I do this?
You should be able to do it straight up. Let me check.
I'm trying to upload it to it.
Because I have... Seth sent me his load order. Yeah, the .rml file. Normally anyone can do it, but I'll do this just in case. See if that works.
Alright, let's try it again. There we go. It's
Cool.
you can see it in there. It's Todd Howard. I swear it works. It just works. I swear. Uh,
He always says that, don't he?
Yeah, I hope naming that would help not have like some issues. It doesn't work. There's
Yeah.
always some mod that's not updated, or we have some mod that's not turned on, turned
Well,
off.
sometimes it's just the launcher fucking up. Ever since they put in that launcher years ago, it's been harder and harder to play together, to play co-op.
Is it okay if I give my friend the information for the TeamSpeak
Mhm.
server?
Did I say RimWorld? I meant Stellaris. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I used to help Seth. I'm I usually police all the servers Seth starts. So this TeamSpeak used to be used to have multiple servers attached to it. Well, not yeah, program wise, but you know what I mean. Ah, stupid memories. But I mentioned Stellaris. Ever since they added in that launcher years ago, it just keeps getting harder and harder to do co-op things. And sometimes the checksum just fucks up randomly, even if there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that it corrupts its own files. So your friend might have to restart the game and his computer a couple of times. You know what I mean?
File transfer complete. User entered your channel.
Did you hear me though about Stellaris just fucking up randomly, even if you have everything right?
Yeah, that is a parent's issue.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's ever since they added in that launcher a few years ago, it's just been getting worse and worse. It
Mm.
even corrupts its own files. It,
Oh, so I've heard. Haven't had to do that yet, though. I know that much.
it's happened to myself and a few other people a few times. It's a known thing apparently.
Hmm.
Apparently, sometimes you just gotta spam the game and restart your computer until it works. Eventually, like if you're 100% positive everything's set up the way it is, it it's a pain. It's a series of poking around and seeing what you can make work. And this has been a really big issue ever since they added the launcher. And it's just been getting worse over the years. Well, not added, but they changed the launcher. They changed how the launcher works, and it's just been fucked ever since, as far as like that goes.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
Right, well, the lobby is up.
Sometimes, you have to go in and manually just delete workshop files and stuff. I'm not sure what you're dealing with, but those are just some things that you might have to do.
It's usually because Baron's doesn't get the Steam update. I mean, Stellaris.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just how Steam's update is. It decides to update Workshop sometimes.
Well, a big part of the workshop relies to the developer, and if they
Well, it's
bothered to set it up.
not even the developer author. It just does that for every game where it just decides, oh, you have a workshop up. Well, we're just not going to install any yet for any of your game. And then I restart Steam because the web helper's using way too much memory or something. Looking at it, thinking you can't be using a gigabyte. That's a gigabyte I could be using towards, I don't know, hosting a Gates of Hell game or something else. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, it decides to start checking for anything that needs updates, and that's usually when it updates Workshop mods again.
From my experience, the developer's input has a lot to do with how some of that works whenever you have their games installed. For example, some developers will have their dedicated launchers. They'll have it where Steam will be more aggressive in that, and even though it does that, you have to start the launcher for it to like implement the shit and then finish downloading the rest of it, which is just completely bonkers. And Stellaris does a little bit of that sometimes. If you ever notice, whenever you install a new mod, it installs, but when you start the launcher, it acts like it's re-downloading it again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that might be where some of the file corruptions are, because it didn't used to really do that so much. At least not the way it does now. This was, I'm talking years ago, because they've had this launcher for about, like, what, 2 or 3 years now?
I think so.
Now, the launcher before did do some similar stuff, but it was consistent, you know? It didn't have as many... ever since this new launcher's been installed, it's always corrupted files and stuff going on. So I'm not sure if it has anything to do with the launcher re-updating, which it probably does, to be honest with you. Because the launcher probably gets confused about what's supposed to be in the folder. Because what ends up happening is I end up with like 3 or 4 duplicates of the same mod, and it just doesn't work, so I have to go in and manually clear it out and then pray. I've had all kinds of stuff. It's hard for me to recall like all the stuff I've experienced when it comes to trying to fix Stellaris, but sometimes I'm just like, not today. Because you can have everything right in the load order, and it still refuses to update the memory checksum. I have a friend of mine who re-downloaded the game 4 times completely because of it.
Really?
Yeah, almost every time he went to play multiplayer, something would break in the launcher and some files and get corrupted, and he would have to delete around to figure out what it was. And even then, sometimes it wouldn't fix it if he did figure out which one was corrupted, so he wound up just having to re-download the entire game every time. So it's like a mixed bag, you know? That's why I was kind of being generic about, a little vague about it, and broad, because there's so many different potential fixes and issues that it's hard to cross it. But from my experience, Stellaris is one of the only games I have consistent issues regarding the workshop and their launcher.
We don't really have that issue with Boy. I don't know what Paradox did with the Stellaris launcher.
Yeah.
The launcher they used for Paradox, they carried over to all the other games, including Hearts of Iron 4. That's kind of what they were doing. They changed them to make them uniform, and so they're all the same launcher, just modified slightly for the subject matter, so to speak.
I get this straight. You're saying it was bumped. So down because there's the input, and I missed that bit in particular about the dev input and what made it bonkers in particular.
You talking about with the launcher? They try to double down with their launcher.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's related, or wait, you said you missed it, or did you
Yeah,
just?
you were saying something about the developer input on the workshop and how the updates work, and there was a bit I must have missed.
Maybe.
And then you said, and that's what makes it bonkers.
Oh, I'm not sure where I was at that point.
It doesn't really matter.
Anyways, a big part of it has to deal with developer error, because the launcher will try to like also get files instead of just letting Steam input it, and the developers, when they're setting up their stuff for Steam Workshop, they have to set it up to where to put the files, how to decode it, how to compress it, etc.
Right.
And they try to get their launcher to do it too, and I think that causes a lot of conflict instead of just letting Steam do it and whatever else that they have going on in their program.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a big part of where a lot of the issues are coming from, because it all just comes back to the launcher, because Steam will download it fine, and then when the launcher runs, hell, even if you don't download new mods, it just randomly corrupts them, ones that you've been using. But I think there might be another side of it, because see, this launcher that they put out a few years ago for Stellaris, well, not just for Stellaris, but they also use it in Hearts of Iron 4, and they just kind of use the same launcher. And they have people that play Stellaris that is like a standalone kind of thing, so they have to go to another site for mods, and the launcher, they have to manually download it and get the launcher to manually to patch it in through their folder. So I'm not sure if they're just not separating the two or something. But here's the thing, for that, at least whenever my friend my friend Nordic, he had this, he had the launcher, and it's almost a different launcher. So some wires are crossed or something, and they're not getting their stuff straight. Something's going on with how that works. But from my experience dealing with experimenting with some other games and stuff, usually it's the ones that have their own launchers that have the most issues with the workshop, versus just having their own built-in mod manager or something like that. But that's why I was saying, from all the games, different games that I've tried that use the workshop, they don't have that many issues consistently, like like the like they do.
Hmm.
Trying to land. I just got done launching 285 rockets into this airfield.
Did everything get downloaded?
Who, me?
Yeah,
This
Solaris.
should already be. I was running the launcher to let it do its thing for like 5 minutes. Uh-oh. But apparently it closed itself for some reason, so I got started over.
Huh.
Still always.
But
They'll find new ways to disappoint us and challenge if possible.
Real.
yeah, Paradox, one of the consistent things I've noticed about Paradox is they have a hard time making AI. So what they'll do is they'll get the AI to cheat. Like they'll get the AI to just spawn units and stuff out of nowhere, and they'll make the AI do certain things to compensate for the fact that it doesn't have any planning. It doesn't do real planning. You know, like in most games, where the AI is decent, you know, you'll see the AI building up units. They'll build up their economy. In Hearts of Iron 4 and Stellaris, whenever you take over some of their planets, or you see what the nation was doing, it was actually in an entire deficit almost the entire game.
Oh yeah, it's, we see that a lot.
Yeah, and that's because the AI cheats. No matter what difficulty you're on. There is a mod that does make it a little easier with some of the stuff, because I don't know if you know this, but do you guys ever take vassals?
Uh, no,
Where's
not
this?
really. Occasionally, but no, not usually.
Yeah. Uh, it's because they're useless, right?
They
Mostly
don't really do
because-
much.
Yeah.
It's-
Also, we're mostly genociding the galaxy for lag purposes.
Yeah, see, taking a vassal, what the games do is they turn the AI off. Like most of the functions of the AI get turned off. That's why vassals are pretty useless.
I remember hearing that. I remember hearing that it might also be the case with Federation members.
Well, that's just been a thing in general. Even like this has been a thing for years, but there's a mod that you could get. It's called like a advanced difficulty settings or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it lets you turn the AI back on for vassals, and it gives you like it's supposed to. I don't remember all of them. It's been a while, but it's supposed to let you adjust a lot of these things. So yeah, if you ever had issues with vassals, that would be a good way to work around that. The mod is missing a descriptor file.
What mod is that?
It's just a corruption. It's the launcher doing it. Yeah. I have a lot of mods that I installed, but I've never actually tried. And they get corrupted often, but since they're not in a place that it doesn't affect a whole lot.
Mm.
Make sure you use the place that I gave you.
Oh, I did. I switched to it. Problem is that it's trying to re-download everything, so 8 new mods. Add them. No. I'm gonna. I don't think it imported your mod list properly. I'm gonna do it again in a minute.
It should import 45 mods, 46 if you count Lust for Void, which it has issues with since it's not a actual.
I haven't had
mod.
it have issues.
Well, not actually a Steam mod.
Mm.
Why does Twitter do this?
Well, I don't know why the embeds have been working.
Another thing to look out for is sometimes when you run the Stellaris launcher, it likes to like, I don't understand how it does it, but it like leaks. So you end up mysteriously running out of hard drive space even though you have hard drive space. So just keep an eye on that sometimes.
It's filling up the page file?
It's hard to explain. Your hard drive will think it has no space in it because it keeps yeah, kind of, but it just keeps trying to like use up the space when it shouldn't. And that's a problem I've been running into. Some of this stuff I don't remember what I looked up about it, and also I'm kind of sick, so my memory's a little off. So keep that in mind, please. But if I do remember something for certain, I do like to mention it, even if it is a vague memory. Because I don't know if it's related to the fact that if it thinks a file's corrupted, it'll try to re-download the whole thing, so you end up with two of them. But it might. But I'm not sure what all causes it or how it's affected. However, I'm going to have to start deleting some stuff here. Because now I'm having issues. It made a duplicate of almost all of my mods, I think.
But we need to buy a cow. We need to name it that.
Oh my god.
So yeah, I'm waiting on the launcher to take in all the mods. So I'm just checking my files to make sure it's not breaking too bad. Sorry. Clandestine.
Alright.
You guys ever tried Black Wake before, by the way?
Friend of mine a long time ago, or how long, like a few years ago, got me it and said, "Oh yeah, we should play it," and then I never got around to playing it with him, so I just have it sitting in my library. I heard good things about it.
Yeah, I got it to play with a friend because it was like $1 a while back. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty fun. I got some footage of it here and there. Though it didn't get a lot of attention it deserves, so it's kind of dying.
That was really popular with YouTubers when it came out. Then it kind of just dropped off.
Black Wake? Yeah.
I didn't really see that many people playing it, to be honest.
I think I remember seeing a bit of it.
There might have been a few here and there.
On
People.
Webums and on some videos, because I think the only competition it really had at the time was it Sea of Thieves, I think.
Yeah, and then insert free to play whichever sailing game here. And then there's also naval action.
I mean,
Hmm.
Sea of Thieves.
There's several free to play pseudo naval games, by the way.
Sea of Thieves just came out like a long time after Black Lake.
It did?
Yeah, Black Lake was like really early.
When the fuck did Sea of Thieves come out?
2018.
2018. Early access for Black Lake was 2017-ish. I think a little bit before then.
No way. But Black Lake's a lot older than that.
Well,
Let's see.
sometimes
When did...
sometimes I forget to consider the tenacity of people that
Like
wish.
Released officially 2020. Released on early access February 24th, 2017.
I thought it was like 2015.
No.
So whenever it comes to the funny thing about Sea of Thieves, when it came out, and not so much today, but it still happens, is it's in that spot to where people wish it was better. They wish it had a lot of other stuff that it was supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
So you get in this weird situation where you got people wanting to shut other things down discussion wise or whatever, because in their mind they want to hope and pray that it fulfills that promise they had built up in their mind. And when I say in the mind, I don't mean that like they're just imagining that was a promise. It's a combination of maybe what they thought it was going to be and maybe what they were told. Because, like, believe it or not, but there's people that are, like, even coming up about Skyrim and Fallout trying to say, oh, Todd was just misinterpreted. It was always meant to be like that. No, I'm not kidding you. There's the other day I was on YouTube looking through some comments, and someone made an E3 video about Oblivion, talking about some of the differences. Now, to be fair, some of the difference he was talking about, like with the lighting, you can do that in the settings of the game or mods, so that, but he was talking about it, and he was really good about it. And Todd was saying all kinds of stuff. Oh, they generated all this with the computer and all this other shit. And in that comment was fresh, and there's still people that are like, oh, Todd's just misunderstood. He's a spokesperson. He has to say things to get people's attention. And it's like, there's a difference between just outright lying. Like Fallout 3, he said had like 200 endings, for example.
Fuck do you say? I need to find this.
It was either Fallout or it was either Fallout 3 or Skyrim, but yeah, look it up.
I would forgive Todd for all of his lies if he would just file Emil and get him out of the
We are over 200 endings. That is not an exaggeration. Todd Howard talked about how they made 200 endings in Fallout 3 and how they accomplished it. This is from Old School Gamers. When the fuck? Frequently asked question?
Yeah.
You complete answer on Reddit. I can't. It won't let me.
If you want the best compilation for the lies he's told, you ever heard of Crobcat? On YouTube?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Alright, I'll link it to you. Crobcat is one of the few people that whenever they post something on YouTube, you know it's going to be some real shit. Like, real as in, he's not pretending or exaggerating. He just shows you.
Speaking on the OXM podcast, interview starts at 37-minute mark, which you can't go to anymore because the domain has been parked. Howard said, being that we are Bethesda, everything gets a bit big, so as of last week, we're over 200 endings. That's not an exaggeration. There's some descriptions. The clarification is that, like other Fallout games, choices you make in the game will affect aspects of the ending, so that figure is really a combination of many sub-endings. The real question then is how many times you have to beat the game to see every sub-ending. It was confirmed Fallout 3 is twice the size than anticipated and close to the size of Oblivion. Quote, "The game is easily 300 hours," he said. Howard also goes into detail about the dog companion. Fallout 3 is still on track for release this fall. Released March 20, and this article was released March 25th, 2008. Guess it's around then. That link.
I linked it into the TeamSpeak chat for
Yeah, I
you.
see.
And it's just a compilation.
Those before?
He doesn't do much commentary. He just shows you stuff that he's noticed. Like the comparison of Bungie versus 343 and their passion, their obvious passion for everything. Because at the time that he put out that video about Bungie next to 343, there was people were starting to come up talking about how 343's the fall, and then there was a lot of people defending it. So he just put out a little comparison video.
Mm-hmm.
It's that video. But anyway, that's enough of that.
Stop talking about Final Fantasy 14 coming to Xbox next spring. I don't care. Okay. Then Destructoid had the same, but permutations. Okay.
I think I'm going to restart the launcher. It's hanging. It's trying to download something, but I don't know what it is.
Even just 2 weeks ago, we should add this idea to the end. Genius idea. Oh, there's 4 versions. Okay, so there's 4 versions that multiplies by, at the time we were about 60 endings, so now there's 4. Okay. Okay, here is the direct quote. Because I found a Destructoid article that talks about it in greater detail. Being that we're Bethesda, everything gets big. We're over 200 endings, but it deserves some description. That's a lot. So originally when we started, we have various iterations of the ending. It's kind of okay. When we started, it was kind of fuzzy. It was like, yeah, well, there's like 9, maybe 12, and we started adding things to it. So if we've done this or not this, you get this other tweak to the ending, and we kept doing that. Then 2 weeks ago, someone had this idea. We should add this idea to the ending, and I said, oh, that's a great idea. We have to do that. But then it became, oh, but there's 4 versions of that. I was like, okay, so there's 4 different versions of that part, and that multiplies by, at the time we were at, about 60 endings, so now there's 4 versions of that, so now there's about 240 versions. They're a lot smaller. And then there's a bunch of stuff about being overboard, as far as I'm concerned. The point of concern is a different experience. The fact that the 200 endings could contain 150 permutations mean anything to as a gamer, or 10 great endings better than 200 minuscule deviations? Somehow I feel this math is coming into this very soon, and I hate math. I leave you to discuss among yourself. Thank you, Destructoid. Very cool.
Hi, I'm Todd Howard of Bethesda. Oblivion, we wanted to start fresh. We wanted to detail carries over to every object in the game.
Looks like this is your lucky day. Just stay out of it.
Destructoid, how come you don't have a review for Baldur's Gate 3 yet?
Now, probably the most important thing we see here is
Sure, they're working on it.
What's your question?
I'm looking at Destructoid because I'm looking at their sidebar. I see all of these reviews at Turbo Overkill, Atlas Fallen, Rise of the Triad, Ludicrous Edition, Remnant 2, Pikmin 4. Yeah, where's that Baldur's Gate 3 review? I'm now 4 pages behind on reviews. You gave Dead Island 2 a 7.5. You gave Redfall a 5. You gave Tears of the Kingdom a 10. Pikmin 4 9.5. Where's Baldur's Gate?
Stellaris is updating again through Steam, so, and I think it's actually grabbing the workshop files this time. So it's gonna be a second before I can start the launcher.
Hmm.
Just so that you know.
When you start the launcher, if you have the preset already set up, you just need to hit play immediately and just don't let Solaris do things.
Yeah, but if I would have hit play, I wouldn't have been able to join you because none of the files actually added into the launcher. It just said I had 10 mods and one of them was still downloading, but it wasn't downloading anything. Yeah. So I closed it and now it's workshop loading, so we'll see how it goes. Anyways, they did a really good job on that Rise of the Triad Ludicrous edition from what I've seen. I watched Civi11's video talking about it.
Hmm.
There's a lot of things they did with it. And then the store page made me laugh.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I watched his older Rise of the Triad videos. I didn't realize he made one for Ludicrous already.
Yeah. If you watch the store page videos, they got the Enforcer dance party thing green screen from him and put it in there. But
really?
whenever I looked at the store, they have 2 videos on there, and it made me smile because you could tell they had whoever made the video had some passion or some care about it, you know.
Right.
So then I went to watch the Civi video about it, and I was impressed. They put a lot of work into it. There's a lot of options. They have alternative sounds, alternative music. They have a whole new campaign chapter.
Yeah, there's the dancing bit. Oh yeah, new episode. Yeah. New level editor. Stored characters and game content.
It's got workshop support. They also added in characters that were deleted because of memory constraints from the original game.
Mm.
Somehow they found them and put them in. Somehow they got them.
What is this campaign level? What is it? Due to budget cuts, Murphy could only afford 14,640 enforcers. What a level. What a workshop level. Wow. Let me just...
Oh, I see it. No, I found it on the front page. Oh my god. It's almost like one of those Doom murder maps.
Yeah. That's like what I would do in,
This guy, at least... Oh, by the way, in the options menu for the Ludicrous Edition, you get to half the health of the monks.
Hmm.
You get to turn their health down, because they have, like, a lot of health
Oh, right.
in the base game. Well, in the Ludicrous Edition, you get an option to put their health to half to what it is. Which I personally agree with. But it's still an option. It's not forced on you.
Old controllers. Most hopeful review past 7 days. For the most accurate 90s experience, play only the shareware episode.
Yeah. My dad owned the game, but I also played the shareware, so... The shareware level of the first level played a different song than the one in the actual game, by the way.
Huh.
Don't
I
know
didn't
if
know
you
that.
Yeah, I think it played Going Down the Fast Way. Civi talked about it in his first Ludicrous, his first Rise of the Triad video. Civi brought that up. I already knew that, but I forgot, and I just remembered. So there you go.
I probably forgot that.
But
Let's see.
he plays a snippet of the song, plays it there.
Hmm.
I have the soundtrack on my hard drive. See, the thing is that a lot of people, Rise of the Triad had a lot of advancements over the competition. Because, like, the most shooter that existed when Rise of the Triad came out was, like, Wolf 3D and Wolf 3D clones. Well, not clones, but you know what I mean. They used, like, the
Yeah,
same kind of...
same build it, or not build engine game.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, that's basically what I'm saying. The same kind of engine sort of deal, which
Yeah.
John Carmack made and set up. So, Rise of the Triad took that engine and upgraded it. And you have all this different stuff going on. You have lighting, you have verticality, all kinds of things that didn't exist in that kind of scenario until like much later. Like Doom 2, Duke Nukem. By the way, the guys that made if it wasn't for Rise of the Triad, Duke Nukem wouldn't exist. Believe it or not. The Duke Nukem 3D, I mean. Not, 3D. Because the guys that made Rise of the Triad put together 3D Realms and made the build engine.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, the build engine came off of from what they learned from modifying the Wolf 3D engine. Interesting.
Yeah. What's engine release? Oh.
Now the thing about Rise of the Triad's music, it wasn't just MIDI. Like if you listen to like the actual music, you can hear variations of like instrumental details and like clapping. They have clap sounds in there. So what they used was I forgot what it was called, but it was an expensive form of music which was a step up from MIDI. It was actually beyond MIDI. And I forgot what they called it. But it wasn't MIDI. It wasn't
I
MIDI.
remember what it was because I know there's a.
Rise of the Triad was one of the first games where having a sound card was something that was necessary to experience the full soundtrack.
Mm.
It was, at least for my memory, it was. And I'm talking about like actually utilizing the sound card and not just saying, "Oh, do you have a sound card? Okay, we'll just put the sound through that." No, it like actually required it if you wanted to hear. It required a certain, amount of processor ability from the sound card.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember later on, SimCity 2000 was the same way.
Mhm. And 3000 too.
Really? 3000 was still using MIDIs?
Oh no, I thought you were talking about.
No, but it was like the same way where it would have, depending on your sound card,
I thought
it wouldn't play the entire.
I thought you were talking about the sound card thing. My bad.
Yeah, we're talking about the sound card variation. Though it might not be in the same manner.
You're talking about it having the option to use MIDIs and alternative audio methods. Is that what you're talking about?
I believe so. I mean, I remember 2000 only had MIDIs available to it. But what would happen is, depending on on your sound card, it wouldn't be able to play all of the all of the notes. I think, or they would end up having to play it in a different manner. So
Yeah, there was a lot of different computer types and setups that
Yeah.
were encompassed. This was before Windows started making things much more manageable.
Right.
I remember you I don't know back then you had to like set up your video card manually every time you wanted to play a new game. It was almost like Linux.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Remember, DOSBox still keeps it around, if I remember.
yeah. Uh, so before Universal Plug and Play and shit like that, every time you wanted to start a game, you had to go through. You'd install the game, and then you'd go through a setup process where you picked your series of video card options and all kinds of different settings and options for sound. And if it didn't work, then you would start the setup process over again to see what worked.
Yeah.
And you would just have to keep doing it until you got it right, or you got it right the first time, depending. And then you may or may not have to configure your video card to accept it, which is kind of like what the part of the issue with the current AMD video cards are dealing with now. Well, I don't know about like in this year, but in the past few years, AMD video cards have been having a real hard time compatibility with games, and it's because they're going through the headaches that they used to back in the day. Because what NVIDIA does is they have universal patches. The developers put in stuff into the game to keep it compatible, but if the developers don't have that or optimize it, the card itself forces it to, or tries to do it as a middle ground. But with the
Mm.
AMD card, it doesn't have all that. So the developers have to program it in, or you find somebody else that did. And that's why AMD video cards have a lot of compatibility issues if you've heard about them.
Yeah, that's right. That's the big trade-off between them.
Hey, I'll be back. I gotta check on something. It's almost
All
done.
right.
It should be done when I get back. At least I hope. It's taking longer than it should. I got like gigabits of like download speed.
Click. X. Stop. Down, let's get back over here real fast. Don't need you. Get GoPro back to the recycle bin. File. Have it all on one. Of course. Paradox would have this all on one line. Of course they would.
Okay, I'm back. So the funny thing about that collection you sent me, I already had about half of those mods already.
That's good.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and
That is a lot of enforcers. Oh my.
Hmm?
That mod.
I gotta install that one.
That's a lot of what?
Enforcers.
Forcers?
Enforcers.
You posted
Eat
it?
lead.
Oh. Oh, yeah, that one.
Here,
Yeah.
catch. The song that Civi plays at the end of his video is from Rise of the Triad.
Oh, right. That's the, this score. The end-of-level score theme, isn't it?
No. Well, wait, yeah, it is. I think it is, yeah. I was thinking of the boss defeated theme. They also have the version of using the Andrew Holeshut soundtrack in there on the Ludicrous edition. Right, so where do I install this mod again? Let me think. I have to go into my documents, right?
Yes, in
Yeah.
the documents, Dolaris, then there should be a folder that's called mod, all lowercase.
Okay.
If not, you just make it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this.
It's alright. Alright, it's derived items. Date created? No, date alphabetically. 30 at a time.
But yeah, you get what I'm saying when I'm saying it's like more powerful than MIDI because it utilizes like more stuff from like instruments and stuff instead of it just being like a tone being raised in pitch or lowered channel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more complex and stuff. Right, Stellaris mod folder. So do I just drop the folder and the mod file, or?
Yeah, you drop both into there.
Okay.
That's...
But I think the alternate music for the first level in the shareware version, I think was called "Going Down the Fast Way."
I believe that's what it was.
One of my favorite songs in the soundtrack, aside from CC Cool, basically just cool. I'm gonna restart the launcher again, just to make sure that it's working.
Usually helps make it register that you've added a non-Steam mod too.
Yeah, that's